So today we're going to draw Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony. As any pony would tell you, the first thing you should do when drawing is start off by drawing shapes. We're going to start off with a head, which is a simple circle. It's a bit ovally, but it's mainly a circle. And there you are. Then we're just going to do a little kick, just a straight line down, and then join it back up with a circle for her nose, like so. Sorry about the blurriness, you'll be able to see in a second. There you go. That's just the way my camera works. And then we're just going to draw her eye, which is a little oval. Actually, it's a big oval in comparison to a circle, because you got to remember with My Little Pony, their eyes are very big, which adds to their cuteness. Now, we're just going to do her ear, which just looks like that. I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe a bit like a comma coming off. And I just started her mane, but I won't continue that. I'm using watercolour for this because later on I'm going to colour it in with watercolour, but you can do this with pencil and colour it in with ink and texture or whatever you want, really. So I'm just doing her mane in yellow, and it's just, remember that it's very jagged with Rainbow Dash, and it looks a bit like that. I'm doing it in yellow because there's not much blue on her mane, so it'll just fade out better. So just doing her mane, basic outline there, and her neck just comes off her head, like everybody's neck. It's just a slight out curved line. And we're just going to draw one side of her for the moment. So just her legs, and her belly, and her back leg. The thing you've got to remember with her back leg is with all My Little Ponies, the back legs have this tiny little indent thing. And then we can do her other leg, which is just off the other side. Now we're going to just do her back, which it dips in, sorry about this, and just draw her back like you would normal with her rump. And then with her tail, you got to once again remember that it's jagged. Now we're just going to draw her wings, and it's just kind of like clouds almost, but it's just straight lines that are curved and come back. Make sure that they're nice and big because she's the fastest Pegasus horse that there is. And if you just do a little bit of touch up, and we can draw the cloud. Pretty simple, flat bottom, curl. Now you want to get your paintbrush and just wet it a bit so you can do some rubbing out. Or alternatively, you can just use rubber. And what we're going to do is we're just going to use watercolour to paint her body. A trick with watercolour that I've done is I'm just doing the darker shadows, like where I want it to be darker. I'm just using the straight watercolour, and it's just going straight down on that, and then later on we'll use water to use that watercolour to fill it all out. So once you get all the watercolour all over the outlines where you want it to be most dark, so all the shadows, spots in her body, then you can put some water on it and spread it out so that her whole body is blue. And that's just with another watercolour paintbrush that I'm doing that. So it looks like that. And then you're just going to want to do the same sort of thing with the cloud, with the black outlines, and then going over it with watercolour again. Alternatively, you could always be using a texture for this point. But with the texture, you might want to do the outlines first, that we will do after we do the painting. So there you go. And for her mane, I'm just going to use a bit of an artline pen. You can use a nib or whatever pen that you want, preferably fine tip. And I'm just going to outline her mane so I've got a bit more of stuff to go by. You could also always use the watercolor pencils. So I'm just going over with acrylic paint because her mane is the main part of her identity, being Rainbow Dash. So we want it to be bright and colourful. You could always use texture or whatever you want. So the colours, it goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then purple. That's not very important, but if you want to be true to the TV series, that's the order. Finally, we're just going to go over again with a felt tip pen. If you're doing this all in felt tip, then you probably should have done that after you did it in pencil. But we're just going to do the basic, well, the more detailed outlines, and like her smile, and her legs, and a bit of a cloud. I'm just doing her eye in that pen too. It's basically 2 lines and then the little dots of shimmer. So we're getting a thicker pen now. That just goes over the top, and it's like accentuating the shadows and also making anything that you want to stand out, like in this case the hair, just to look a bit more bolder. I'm using a Sharpie, but you can use whatever you want. So that's just the underline of the cloud. Colouring in her eye, just the black bit, so it actually looks like she's looking down now. Also, I didn't do this, but her eye is purple, so you could have coloured it in any way you wanted. And just a few little tips, just like kneading it up, and then you can pretty much done, and that is Rainbow Dash for you. And yeah, thank you.